The deal is this. I'll tell you, when I was a kid that read Dropper Hunter and Wilson, all this real. I'll tell you, when I was a kid that read Dropper Hunter and Wilson, all this real. Dude, I'm pissed. Dude, I'm pissed. Come on. What do we do? Come on. What do we do? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are covering every issue of Grant Morrison's new X-Men. We have wrapped up the Murder at the Mansion arc. We are introducing a new arc called Assault on Weapon Plus. To catch everybody up, Emma and Scott have been committing adultery. He's been cheating on her with cheating on Jean with Emma. They've been doing it psychically, though, which is kind of like doing it with a condom, right, Gary? It doesn't really count. Is that how that works?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Doing it with a condom doesn't count. Yeesh. That's a yipes from me, fam.
Gonna have to go ahead and cancel you for that one,
yeah.
Boomer.
Oh, mask off.
We somebody murdered Emma Frost, and we figured out that it was Esme, one of the 5 Stepford Cuckoos, or now one of the 4 Stepford Cuckoos, mind-controlling angel, who kind of vaguely thought she was protecting her weird fly children from the Institute. Yes. But Esme left, got away. She is going to meet somebody suspicious. We don't know who that is. Meanwhile, Scott has not been seen in several episodes, and this is where we're going to catch up with him. How you doing, Gary?
Good. Sleepy, thirsty. Good.
Okay.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite issues in the run.
Yeah, I like this.
Quiet Triumph, issue 142.
Good job. I think the art style, I don't know this guy, so you probably have more insight on that, but the art style that this artist employs works better in this issue than it does in the next 3 issues of the arc.
Oh yeah. So this is Chris Bacallo, who is an artist I like a lot, who has gotten wilder and less clear as time went on. This is the artist for Generation X. It was the first time I saw Chris Bacallo. It is like, he is an artist who I like. When I think he works, I think he's really cool and stylish. When it doesn't work, it is hard to tell what's going on.
Yeah.
So the next 3 issues after this, which are action issues, I have to, like, we're going to be doing a little bit of a service in the podcast, as like I had to read and kind of reread them a couple times to explain what is going on.
Yes.
In them. He reminds me, there's an artist named Humberto Ramos, who has done a lot of Spider-Man work, who also does really exaggerated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And Humberto Ramos is more clear. Like, I think he's a better storyteller. I don't like the images as much.
Sure.
There are a bunch of these images I just think are extremely cool, especially in this issue where he manages to draw women who are supposed to be sexy in a way that doesn't feel cheesecakey and gross.
Yes.
Like, I really like the way that he that he does, him as an artist, while recognizing that there are straight up like whole pages that are incomprehensible.
Yeah.
In the next 3 issues.
And
so
I wanted to in this recording session, to give people a little peek behind the corner, we're only going to do the first 2 issues of this arc, and I really I got to the end of the second issue and I was like, I kind of need to know how all of this ends so that I can talk about it on this podcast. Like, I feel like, because without the context of the ending, it's really difficult to get a handle on the stuff that they're doing. And some of the things in here I don't necessarily like. Like, there's a lot of I'd remember this as an arc that I almost unconditionally loved. And then every time I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, then the Ultima Maiden is there or something. I don't even know what that dude's called, but I kind of don't like that. Like, there's some stuff in here that doesn't work for me. So
yeah. I don't think this is an unqualified win. I think this issue that we're going to talk about today is an unqualified win.
Yes.
I think the arc itself is not, though. I would totally agree. It's
so
not the worst arc in the run, I don't think, but it's
no.
it's not great.
The cover is great. This is just like a dark Wolverine, super long claws, looking kind of evil at the camera, and yeah, this looks kind of sets the tone for this entire issue, I think.
Mm-hmm. And just kind of shows you the artist.
Mm-hmm.
This is Chris Bacalo showing off a little bit. You can kind of see the style here. So we cut into it, and we start off with this character who is talking to someone we don't know. She is in black lingerie in the old Phoenix outfit, the Hellfire Club Phoenix outfit. And she's saying, like, so why did you choose me? Like, do I remind you of somebody? Is it somebody who wouldn't dress like this? And again, she's stripping, and there's like this shot where she's just in lingerie with her legs spread, and it looks like Batman the Animated Series or something. Like, it's a very non-sexual picture of a really sexual situation, which I appreciated, being the weirdo prude that I am.
Like, I don't know that I could go down the road of like non-sexual picture on this, just because like it is lingerie, and like the shot from behind where she's dropping her cloak behind her is kind of an ass shot. I think what makes this though is it's not greedy about what it shows you. Like, there's a lot of black, a lot of shadow work that makes this kind of almost hidden, which is usually, I think, for dudes like you and I work a little bit better on the sexual scale for us. Like, not just like, here's a giant tit. It's like, oh, here's somebody playing in and out of shadow with the natural curves of their body, and that's kind of super, super sexy.
Well, to me, it's like sexual subject matter, but it doesn't look as sexualized to me.
Sure.
Is more, what I think I'm picking up. Like, it's definitely a sexual scene, and it's definitely like kind of an ass shot. But I think that like the proportions, specifically on the body are a little bit like it really feels a little bit like Batman Animated Series to me. Like, sure. The colors are very flat. It doesn't feel like this is designed to yank my dick, I guess is like what I'm getting at. And maybe that just says more about my dick than it does the drawing.
Maybe so, because the next page is literally an ass shot with like her holding a whip and it kind of wrapping around her legs, which are wrapped up in these like long leather boots, and then she's kneeling on the floor and leaning back because she's dancing, right? Like she's doing this like super sexy dancing of, and like, who do I remind you of? I can be anyone. And it's very like. It's very stripper-ish. Like, and you and I have talked about strip clubs before and how like weirdly unarousing they are at this point in our lives.
Scott Summers is going to say exactly what I think about them in just like 1 second.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is what she says. Like, you're thinking about how good it is just to be able to call the shots, and am I right, Mr. X-Man? And then from her feet, like from behind where her heels are, we see through those into where Cyclops is sitting, saying like, actually, I was just thinking about how weird and sexless this whole situation is. Like, this is just not working for me at all.
This is the most I've ever related to Cyclops in my life. Like, this monologue here, like, he says it's weird and sexless. I don't mean to be mean. It's just, and you're beautiful. It's not that, but it's not real. Like, it's your job to create this fantasy where you're my girlfriend. What we're sharing here is a financial transaction, though, that's helping you through college. You have jeans and a sweater to change into backstage and a boyfriend back home. I can't fool myself into thinking there's anything more to this. It's making me feel self-conscious. Like, this is in exact words how I feel at strip clubs. And I've never like, felt more like Scott Summers.
During all of this, she's not stopped stripping. Like, she walks behind him. She's like draping her whip all over his shoulders and like about to undo her bra. And like, he's just like staring straight ahead. Presumably he has a visor on, but we're presumed to be staring straight ahead, and like just kind of having this casual conversation of like, this is, I don't even know why I'm here. Like, why did I come here for this?
I love it. She says, wow, you really know how to murder a nice romantic mood. And he goes, yeah, I guess I do. I think it's my mutant power.
Nice.
Which is astounding. Like, good line.
Mm-hmm. Later on, he's at a booth.
See where he's at.
Yeah. He's at a booth. He's at one of several booths, not all of which are occupied, when our old friend Sabretooth shows up. Sabretooth has like weird stickly outy hair now and lots of like shells on his chest. Sabretooth, who is your guy? Who's your dress guy?
Which shell guy?
Which queer eye is the guy that's showing you how to do this? Because I think you got the food one instead of the fashion one.
Like queer eye for the X guy. Yeah. He's got a lot of shells on his necklace like Raz. It's a little weird. I think they're supposed to be teeth, but it's pretty goofy looking. And again, I think this is just Chris Bacalo, like drawn a version of Sabretooth he felt like drawing.
Sure.
This is not supposed to be on model at all. And I could totally understand why that doesn't work for somebody. As somebody who does not give a shit about Sabretooth, I'm kind of into it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm sure Sabretooth does need 2 belt buckles. Sure. Why not? Who cares?
Who knows? He's got a big waist.
Yeah.
You know what they say? Yeah. He shows up and he's giving him shit. Like he's basically saber rattling at him. Like, hey, ex-boy, what are you drinking? Sparkling wine? What kind of gay drink is that? You know,
saber rattling. Is that intended, or did you?
No, I didn't. No, it was not intended, but I'll take it. Sabretooth. Yeah. But he's giving him shit here.
Yeah. Not just because he's like sitting around drinking, but it's also drinking sparkling wine, which Sabretooth says kind of a gay drink.
Yeah.
And basically just like you said, saber rattling at him of like, hey, like we're going to fight, when he gets interrupted by none other than
Sebastian
Shaw. Yeah, thank you. I blanked for like assume I was like the Black King, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, he's the Black King. He's both. So as from the X-Men from First Class, it's Sebastian Shaw.
That dude.
And this version of Sebastian Shaw and this version of the Hellfire Club is kind of a Grant Morrison creation as far as I know. They've repurposed the Hellfire Club as a haven for mutants with money to spend. Like there's a strip club and bar that is kind of like the bar with the bar where Deadpool's at, where you can't start fights.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He's like, if you're going to harass my guests, you will not be welcome here. Sabretooth, of course, like, are you going to stop me? And he's, don't toy with me. Like, I will destroy your mind and you'll be flayed and dissected by experts for over a period of months and end up an amusing carpet in my vestibule. Which is, imagine going into a strip club and you step on Sabretooth, like his skin.
Honestly, not much in that club will get me hard, but wow.
Like, what a boner buster. Like,
is that Sabretooth's head, or is that just a place to, you know what, never mind, let's not even talk about it, let's just move on.
Let's go.
Is there another room? Can we get is there a different VIP? Is there a less very important person?
Is there very VUP room? Like, can I find a very unimportant person room, please?
Is there a MIP, like a medium important person? That's how I feel like I am most of the time. And then Sebastian Shaw turns back to, Sabretooth leaves and he turns back to Scott Cyclops. I did it again. Jesus Christ.
Sure.
Turns back to Cyclops and is like, oh, wow, this is a real shitty kind of wine that you're drinking. Like, I hope you guys aren't here to attack us. And he's like, I'm not. And poor Cyclops is like, I'm just trying to get drunk. Why are you guys talking to me so much?
I love the line, why does everyone seem to have an opinion about me tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so relatable. Again, like, this issue is so Gary to me.
Yeah. I love this line too, because Cyclops asks Shaw, like, who's sitting there? And he says, it's reserved, a little like yourself, huh? Like, there's a lot of really good, like, Grant Morrison's coming out swinging on like the kind of spicy dialogue in here. Yeah.
And this issue is all talking. There's no action in this. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a downtime issue. Sebastian Shaw is like, hey, Emma hurt me too. I hurt her in return. Sorry, but I could tell that, I telepathically smelled her on you. The heart craves the securities of the battlefield. The dancers here are telepathic. They can be whatever you want. We're all victims in the same brave new world, Mr. Summers. Welcome to the slippery slope. Like, kind of a platitude, but also just, and then we cut away from that. We just show the stripper cracking her whip as a full page drawing. That's really nice and cool looking.
It's a really interesting punctuation to the welcome to the slippery slope, to hear that like crack and to see this woman that kind of standing tall and like with her arm in the air with the whip. And also that Sebastian Shaw has just told Scott, like, oh, that's a 200-pound person that looks like a prawn, like, but she can make these people see whatever they want to, and like that's the reason that this stuff works. And that's pretty classic like stripper territory. I think like any kind of book with powers or anything in it where somebody can make somebody seem something like, oh, I'll go be a stripper. Like Emma Frost had the same conversation. Yeah. So
this is observed from across the way by Wolverine. And Wolverine's like, that's it. My pride can't take it anymore. You're making the X-Men look like losers.
And he has a good old fashioned bottle of Jake Daniels, the classic whiskey. Jake Daniels. I wish I was making that up, but I'm not. That's fucking hilarious. Like, it's exactly in the same style as that one Estes shirt for Dark Souls for some reason, but also Jack Daniels.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very Jack Daniels. It's pretty funny. And also, like, I'm glad they didn't actually just use Jack Daniels because it would look like an advertisement.
Yeah.
Like very much. But this also just looks like an advertisement. I wish this was just like Hellfire. Or something like that.
I don't think I had actually noticed this was Jake Daniels before just right now as I'm really looking at the panels when we're talking about it. So yeah. Good for them, I guess. I love like the next, like there's going to be these kind of shots or these kind of pages throughout this book where the panels, it's a solid black page with like a swooping line going down and dialogue in between where it's just solid black where there's not actual panels. And it's just really cool. And it gives it this real like dynamic sense of pace. And it's very much two guys drinking that know each other and have fought together and but maybe not necessarily like one another that much and it's just good. So Scott joins Wolverine and Wolverine's like, I'm not actually here for you. I didn't even expect to find you here, but now that you're here, like I got some work and I could use your help.
Yep. So just so you know, Emma Frost got shot. You're a suspect. This is how we're going to drink and talk. Whoever's left standing is the winner. If you win, you can stay here and lose your mind and your dignity. But if I win, I'll tell you about what we're going to do after I get back from the VIP urinals, which, I love the idea of the VIP urinals at the Hellfire Club.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I got, there's the bathroom and then there's the very important penis bathroom. Like that's awesome.
This one flushes. This one they throw ice in the urinal. So.
And also like the urinal, like if you told me that you were going to a VIP bathroom, I wouldn't expect there to be like actual urinals in there. I would expect it to be a nice fucking bathroom with like a dude that hands you a thing and then like expects you to tip him. I'm like, dude, I don't carry cash. Why are you in the bathroom? This is a weird job that you have.
I don't care for it. Also, urinals are not very classy.
Exactly.
Like it's classier than a trough, but that's not saying very much. Like a trough is the least classy place you can pee.
But there's still ice in the bottom of both. Am I right?
Yes. So Wolverine goes to the bathroom. He's there. He's looking at these pinup drawings that are over the urinals. A great little panel of him being extremely short in front of the urinal, which I like because I like how short Wolverine is. He's kind of just talking to himself, like talking about the pinup girl, like, hey, you remind me of this girl who I met in Arnheim land in 1943. I bet you she was your grandmother. And then Sabretooth comes in to kind of do some saber rattling. Like he's that guy at the bar trying to pick a fight and no one will fight him.
And he does his usual Wolverine thing. Like, I've got every skill that you have and then some. Like, what do you got that I don't? And Wolverine just brushes it off and is like, hey, look, if you had run into me anywhere else, you know that I'd skin you alive, but we're in a safe spot, so see you later. And he goes back to join Scott, and we get kind of an intercut panel of the stripper like doing more whip work that looks really cool, and they're just doing shots of Jake, which is a thing that I've said out loud now, so now everybody has to say it with me. Shots of Jake.
Jake and do. Yep. Just drinking some Jake. So as they're drinking the Jake, they're talking about stuff, and it's just, you said that they don't necessarily like each other. Like the relationship between Scott and Scott and Wolverine during this run is really good. Like we saw this in the very first issues. Like they don't necessarily like each other. They have this history, but they respect each other so much, and they've been working together for decades. They're not going to they're going to be over the initial, X-Men, the movie, like you're a dick stuff.
Exactly.
Even though he does call him a dick during this or something like that, but they're going to be over that kind of stuff and onto a more profound relationship. And in this run, all the X-Men have that. Like, it's more simple than just Cyclops and Jean are boyfriend, girlfriend, Iceman's a goofball. Hank McCoy's a nerd. Like everybody has kind of more complicated relationships. Like one of the things I loved, and this happened in the last episode or last issue, where Beast when he calls out Jean and he's like, you were out of line. You really hurt her. You should have taken care of your own marriage problems. Like calling out your friend is a hard thing to do, in real life. And I feel like a lesser writer, that would be like a huge fight. I'm going to invoke something that gets me in trouble sometimes, but I feel like in the kind of extended emotions of anime, that would have been a big fight, as opposed to something that feels like real friends where somebody could say that and somebody could brush it off. And we're just not going to deal with it right now. We're in emergency mode.
If not anime, then think of network TV drama or soap operas or things like that, where everything is amped up to be dramatic. And I think a real conversation with your friend where you were saying you should have gotten your marriage problems under control before they caused all this damage. I think the real, like at that point, after the things that had happened, the real conversation there is what Jean says, and we didn't really talk about her response a lot in that issue, but she says, yeah, well, I was trying to save the world at the time. Like, she acknowledges it and knows that it's true, and also that they can't do anything about it. Like, it's not like she can go back. I mean, she's the Phoenix. She could probably go back in time and fix it, but let's not worry about that. But like, it's not like she can change what happened at this point in time. So even though it's a difficult thing to say to a friend, it's a difficult thing to hear from a friend, it's a conversation where both of you are like, difficult conversations like that, I find when I have them, like a lot of emotion drains away from it, and it's just like trying to say things factually about your emotions, if that makes sense. And I feel like that's what's missing in a lot of writing, is that they want it to be dramatic and have people in tears and fist clenched and yelling and things like that. But a lot of the times when you're like that, for me personally, that gets removed, and you're just there like, no, I feel this way, and I feel it strongly. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm weird because I'm doing that, but
no, that totally makes sense. Like it is a reserved trait, a little bit, and the idea also just being like, there's nothing we can do about it now, and it's not only is it a reasonable response, but it's also true. Like they've been dealing with nonstop tragedies the entire run, but having these moments where it's acknowledged that these personal problems, the fact that the X-Men are not allowed to be people and actually tend their garden, is causing huge global scale problems.
Yes.
They're not seeing these things coming, is one of the themes that, like, in this read I picked up that I had not really read, picked up before. We talked about it a lot in the Riot Xavier's arc, how the X-Men are not equipped to deal with that kind of problem. Those are like personal problems. They don't do those kind of things because they're too busy saving the world, and they actually have huge effects. Like, it is one of the weird quiet triumphs of Grant Morrison's run, in addition to just feeling really good as far as character interactions. Like, Beast saying that to Jean reminded me of when Beast and Cyclops were talking about after Jumbo Carnation's murder. And, he was just like, listen, you got to be careful about this stuff with Emma Frost. Like, stop doing this. I'm your friend. I'm watching you, do the slow motion car wreck.
And we had the same thing with Wolverine and Scott when they were flying from Japan, I think. When Wolverine's like, you have to mow your lawn, right? Like, you have to, you need to tend your garden. You gotta take care of your family first. Like, you need to have a conversation with your fucking wife. And Scott has never been able to do that throughout this entire run and throughout the history of the X-Men almost. Like, he's not been able to deal with these issues. And as he lays it out for Wolverine, it's like, the reason that I was with Emma was that there was no pressure. She had no expectations. She just accepted me for who I was at that time, and I could just let go. And he has too much history with Jean for that to really happen. Like, that every time he looks at her, he sees a teenage girl, and she feels like a teenage boy. Like, it's just such a, like, with that much history, you can't just have a conversation about something like that. Like, it makes it way more difficult. And and all of this is
trapped in the history.
Yeah, and all of this is interspersed by them both just downing shots of Jake, which I don't know if you've ever had a Jake hangover, Gary, but it's not a very good one. Don't.
Yeah, I was more of a Joph Beam.
Oh yeah,
kind of guy when I was a kid. I like Joph.
Isn't that a Stephen King book? Is that something with the Dark Tower, Joph Beam? Is that something? Are we on Radio Free Midworld right now?
That's the rest in peace. Not really. It's coming back. People ask me all the time whether it's coming back, and I'm like, as far as I know, yes.
I had this is just a random thing, but I had somebody that listens to Monster of the Week like DM me and be like, I was listening to this Dark Tower podcast and you were on it. Like, that was weird. I'm like, yeah, dude, I do podcast. Like, do you follow my Twitter? Like, I retweet that stuff all the time. Like, I don't. It's very funny though.
So, and basically the conversation they're having is comparing Jean and Emma. Like, Jean is, different. Emma's different. Scott then's like, how can anyone think I could shoot her? Like, why do people think so badly of me after all this time? Which again is very relatable. Like, I relate to Scott so much during this. Like, why have I not earned the benefit of the doubt on this stuff? He's saying that, like, the whiskey's not working on me. I'm totally lucid. I'm not going back to the mansion. You can't convince me to join the X-Men. And Wolverine lays it out for him. And again, I love this shit too. Like,
oh, I do too.
Something. Yeah. Like, you always get the best girls. Like, I watch these smart, interesting girls, beautiful women go nuts trying to crack through the shell of Summers. And all you do is whine. Like, you have the thing that I want, and you're trying to throw it away for this wild and sexy little affair. And the worst thing about it is you think Jean wouldn't understand. The entire time you've been with her, she's been waiting for you to come out of your shell. Like, this is obvious to everyone but you.
And
Scott's
just like Scott's response of "I hate you" is so good.
Yeah,
because he's getting kind of drunk.
really
He's like, fuck off, man. I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to listen to how you envy me. Fuck off. I am wallowing in my own insecurity and doubt. I don't need your bullshit.
What Wolverine's saying here is so like, it's the kind of truth that only somebody in this position can do, where they know you really well, and can just say that. Like, and the audience, the reader is probably like, oh, poor Scott Summers, like all of the sexiest and smartest and most capable X-women have been throwing themselves at you the entire run, like the entire time of the X-Men. You got a weird clone of your ex-wife. Like, Jean died and a perfect version of her showed up and you went and fucked off to Alaska. Like,
the wife's so nice, they cloned her twice.
Yeah. it's like the clone wife. The clone wife guy. There's Elf wife guy, Cliff wife guy. But I just love this line. And coming from Wolverine's perspective of like, you have the thing that I want is a really powerful thing that I've also experienced, where you're getting somebody is as full of self-pity and they're complaining about the thing that you would like do anything for.
Yeah.
So good.
Is there on the bottom left-hand side on this page, doesn't it look like the arrow for the text bubble is pointing to Scott when it's definitely Wolverine talking? Like, isn't that kind of weird? Like,
yeah, that's a mistake.
I feel like at some point you should just correct this stuff, right? Like, I mean, if you have a digital copy of this, you could just move the arrow, right? Like, am I crazy? Like, I know we don't need to go through like HD editions of comic books because I'm sure if Marvel thought they could, they would do it at fucking heartbeat. But yes, at some point you got to fix this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyway,
yeah, you found a mistake. Yeah. He at the bottom of this on the lower right, Cyclops is like, "Who's that weird guy with the phone? Is he your friend? Because he's been winking at me." And we cut over to Phantom X in the reserved booth. And he's ordering medicine for like headaches or whatever, because he knows they're going to have a hangover. But why has he been winking at him?
I don't know. It's really
like
funny.
All night. It's very weird.
Wolverine says that, that's Phantom X. That's my contact. I'm going to go with him and find out where I came from. And like, hey, like you've had problems, and you should imagine I've got a huge amount of problems piled up. There's this woman that I'm haunted by. I've been turned into a living weapon. I can't even remember her name. But Phantom X has given me the opportunity to get to Weapon Plus, which has kept copies of the Weapon X files after everything was destroyed. And so we're going to help him smash the Weapon Plus program wide open. Yep.
And that's going to be our arc here. Cyclops brushed him off. He's like, I forget it. I'm sick of having missions and trying to be some perfect mutant soldier, whatever. I'm just trying to get drunk. I'm just trying to leave. Wolverine, like, his shell kind of cracks at this point. He's like, I'm trying really hard, Summers, but help me. I can't forget this. This is really important. How many times have I been there for you? Like, you owe me this. Cyclops stands up. He's like, hey, drink for drink. That was the deal. You're so much for your healing factor, giving you an advantage. And then he walks 2 steps and immediately walks into a table and falls over, pass out drunk.
This has got a lot of Jeremy vibes to it. Jeremy has maybe done this one. I'm fine. Crash. Yeah, and Phantom X comes over, and Wolverine's like, trust me, this dude is one of the best. There's no one else I would rather have in my corner than Scott Summers. And even though he's drunken and passed out, and we see Wolverine do another shot while Phantom X looks at a drunken, passed out Cyclops, like literally hiccuping in his sleep over a crash table.
Yep. Super good.
Yep.
And that's the issue. Like, no action, no nothing, just character work.
Yeah, and really good. Like, this is the Wolverine and Cyclops content that I crave. Like, the idea, and I remember reading this the first time and thinking this, of Scott Summers wanting to get away at all. Like, Scott has always been the foundation of the X-Men as a team and really as a concept, even more so than I think than Xavier does, because Xavier has these lofty ideas and Scott is out there doing the work to get there.
Yeah.
So the idea that he's like, I got a jet, like, I got to get the fuck out of here. Yeah. This is too much. I got to go to a bar. And this is kind of the sad thing when I think about mutants who have obvious mutant powers, like Scott has a visor and Angel has wings and things like that. Like, this dude can't go to a corner bar and get left alone. Like, if he goes to the corner bar, some human motherfucker with a Trump 2020 sticker on his truck is going to be like, fuck you. And so he has to come to a place like this where he also gets hassled by shitty mutants. Like, he can't, there is no escape for Scott Summers.
He's pretty trapped, and the idea here of him going on a mission to take out some of this anger by punching bad guys, makes a lot of sense. The idea of him talking to somebody who like it or not is one of his best friends.
Yes.
You know, just the reality is like, actually, no, Wolverine is your guy. There's not really a way around that. Like all that stuff is just solid gold. It's going to get worse. You know, the action of these issues and some of the concepts, like this feels a little bit like, you know, this whole arc other than this issue feels a little bit like a comic Grant Morrison wanted to do anyway.
Yeah. I get that vibe very much so. Yeah. It feels like a less fleshed out version of a script that he had somewhere.
Yeah. Which is a bummer, but for now, this is wonderful. One of my favorite issues in the run, very much so.
Yep.
If you like the show, what should they do, Jeremy?
You should not do anything personally. First and foremost,
Oh.
Don't have to do anything to me. Just
Oh,
maybe.
I didn't say to Jeremy.
Oh, I thought you said to. What they do to Jeremy? I'm like, Jesus Christ, Gary, I don't know.
No. I just said, what should they do? You know, comma Jeremy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I didn't hear the comment in there. My bad.
Like,
They should go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and probably turn off this podcast because we're in the weeds on the outro. But if you donate to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv, you get all kinds of cool benefits. Early episodes of this podcast will go out once every 2 weeks and have the next 4 episodes all built in. So you get one long fat episode as opposed to 4 skinny boys. You can also get access to the Slack channel, which has a bunch of Duckfeed fans and just generally cool people. Did you know there's like 2,400 people in the Slack now?
I did not know that.
I got an email from Slack the other day. Like I get one every Monday. It was like, these are the people that joined and these are the people that are inactive. And like at the bottom, it was like, there are currently 2,300 members. And I'm like, we need to clean that shit up. There is no way.
It's time to clean house. Yeah, I get those emails too. I don't read them. I can't do number feedback anymore on anything. But the if that's intimidating to you, I think as far as active people in the Slack, there's probably about 100.
Yeah.
Who are active at any given time. And then there's like some people who just show up occasionally, like maybe another 100. And that's probably about it.
And
so
also
don't get scared of that.
Yeah, don't get scared it's 2,300 people. Like you're going to jump in and get immediately inundated with a bunch of weird folks. You can jump in the smaller channels and get weirdly inundated by a bunch of weird folks by a smaller amount of weird folks.
By like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Instead of 200.
But we have a ton of channels for various topics and various podcasts. So it's really easy to kind of find your space within and talk to people and everyone's super nice. And if they're not, me and Gary will kick them out. That's great.
Tell us about it. We'll get them.
But thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for all of the good feedback we've been getting. We really appreciate it. We'll be back in a couple of days with more of Assault on Weapon Plus.